It's about gluten-free. I'm sure you've heard of the term. I'm sure you've heard of this diet, gluten-free food. It seems to be the next big thing on there. Actually, about 30% of the population in this country claim that they buy gluten-free food. So it's really important that we talk about it and we understand what it is and to see if it makes sense or if it's just a fad like some diets are out there. So gluten is a type of protein that is found in wheat, okay, and other grains like rye and barley. But gluten, it's a family of different proteins. So gluten is found in all grains at the end of the day. When you think about quinoa, for example, it has a type of gluten, rice, rye, barley, buckwheat. I mean, all those different grains have subclasses of gluten, but the gluten in the wheat is the one that we are more concerned about because it seems to be the most toxic for people. So gluten is typically includes two protein, glutenins and gliadins. So these two proteins is found in wheat, like I said, and they are the ones causing a lot of problems in people, like GI issues, brain fog, hormonal imbalances, and so on and so on. So these two proteins are found in wheat, like I said, in the wheat that we grow today in this country. The wheat that we used to have back in the days, like in the Bible time, for example, that was the good natural wheat. The wheat today is called a dwarf wheat. So it's shorter when it grows, and it has a lot more gluten proteins in it, making the grain toxic at the end of this, because we are not used to process and digest that much gluten. As a matter of fact, I have so many of my patients who actually, when they go to France or Italy or any other countries in Europe, they eat wheat products like bread or pasta or pizza, and they don't feel bad. They don't feel any problems. Actually, most of them claim when they come back that they feel good. They lose some weight. They don't have GI problem. They don't have diarrhea or constipation. The reason is what they use over there is the real stuff, the real wheat grains. That's something we have not been using for decades in this country. As a matter of fact, you can find those products in some stores. Some Whole Foods will carry them, and so on and so on. So you can find wheat products like pasta or wheat flour made from France or Italy. These are all actually decent. These are good. These are typically safe for you. So we talk about wheat that most people will eat today in this country, which is a highly processed wheat that is found in all kinds of foods like pizza, pasta, baked goods, donuts, bread, and so on and so on. So that wheat is highly processed. As a matter of fact, there were some studies that look at how long the wheat grains are being stored in warehouses in this country. And in average, wheat grains are being stored and kept 4 years somewhere in some type of warehouse before they're being used. So if you can imagine, so 4 years in a building, so you have to use some type of chemicals so to address the rodent issues, the insects, and so on and so on. So they use fungicides, insecticides, all kinds of chemicals to kill those different bugs. So those grains are highly sprayed of pesticides. So if you can imagine, when you eat those products made with those grains, you actually ingest a really high amount, to me, a concerning amount of pesticides. So more than 95% of the population have pesticides in their gut, in the bloodstream. Like Roundup, for example. And we know pesticides are linked to all kinds of issues, like inflammatory issues, cancer, osteoporosis, neurological issues, heart problems, liver issues, gut issues, and so on and so on. So this is another reason to avoid wheat products, because they are really, really high in pesticides. And this may be true from organic wheat as well, because like I said, typically the organic wheat grains, or wheat in general, is stored in buildings somewhere for years. So even though it's organic, they may use pesticides to preserve the grains. So organic doesn't mean it's safe today. It just means that they didn't use any chemical when they grew and harvested the wheat grain. But after that, the organic label doesn't mention anything, so they can actually use chemicals and claiming that the wheat is organic. So to me, there's no safe wheat products today unless you get it from overseas, like I just said, from Italy, from France, or those countries. So wheat free diet, it is a real thing. I see it all the time with people. As a matter of fact, I had a client, a little boy, 10 years old, that had wheat gluten sensitivities, and he would be hyper ADHD, and that's what he was labeled with, and he was recommended to put on medications and all that, And at the end of the day, we just recommended the gluten-free diet, and his ADHD went away. So food, wheat, gluten can actually cause a lot of problem into the body. Even though he didn't have any GI issues, his body was really sensitive to gluten. And most people who have gluten problems do not feel it in the gut. They feel it somewhere else. They might have brain fog or insomnia, allergies, seasonal allergies. Some people have fatty liver. Some people have high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and so on and so on. So a lot of people associate gluten issues with GI problem, but most of the time that's not what's going on. It's other symptoms that are not GI related. And this has been recognized more and more by the medical community and holistic practitioners. So to me, clinically, it makes sense to go gluten-free. I would say that more than 99% of people benefit going gluten-free. We can see the clinical results on people. They start improving, they start losing weight, their hormones get in balance, they don't have headaches anymore, they just feel better. So it is a thing. I don't think it's just a fad. I think it makes sense to avoid wheat products that we find in this country. That's why a lot more companies offer gluten-free foods. Which is my next point is we need to be careful when you buy gluten-free foods, because most of the time when you start reading labels, so those companies who make those products replace gluten with other starches like cornstarch, potato starch, and tapioca, and so on and so on. And at the end of the day, those products end up with more starches, more sugar, okay, more carbs. So I see that often actually that people switch from a gluten containing diet or gluten-free diet, and they actually start gaining weight. Sometimes they get worse because they go buy the gluten-free junk food that I call them. So it's gluten-free, but if you look at the labels, there's more sugar and more starches and more chemicals and more preservative and so on and so on. So you have to be smart with gluten-free. Yes, I know people are trying to find options that they used to like donuts, try to find a gluten-free donut, right? So at the end of the day, a donut is a donut, even though it's gluten-free. It's still a processed food. It's still a junk food. Same thing with cereal. And all those different options that you can find, it's still a lot of sugar. So those foods usually contain more sugar, and they can actually cause more problem to people. So you have to be careful. So what I recommend is start reading label, start looking at the sugar and carbs contents of those foods, and you will see it may not be a good idea to actually substitute those foods with gluten-free foods. The goal is to optimize your diet in a way that eat more fresh food, non-processed, more vegetables. We all know that the American peoples don't eat enough vegetables and fruits. So more veggies, more fruits, more nuts, more of the fresh, non-processed food like eggs, like a good quality cheese, fish, meat, and so on and so on. So when your diet is based on this principle, you start feeling better and you actually start nourishing your body. You actually get vitamins, nutrients in, as opposed to eating those empty calories gluten-free foods. Once in a while, I don't think there's any problem with that. but it shouldn't be a regular thing. You should really base your diet on foods that we used to eat, back in the days, from the farms, from hunting, gathering, and so on and so on. So at the end of the day, gluten-free, it makes sense to actually avoid gluten because it can cause a lot of problems. And we've seen over the last 40 years a rapid increase of cancer, heart disease, diabetes, obesity, osteoporosis, autoimmune problems. All those can actually be caused or promoted by gluten. So if you feel that you are dealing with any kind of issues, yeah, it makes sense to avoid gluten. And I would say that it would make sense to avoid grains in general. My principle with my clients is mostly based on paleo diet, which is the diet that we used to eat when we were hunter-gatherer, like thousands of years ago. So a grain-free, dairy-free diet. And we've had all kinds of issues with this kind of diet to reverse autoimmune issues like Hashimoto's, scleroderma, RA, and so on and so on. So I hope it makes sense. If you have any question, you can let me know. You can write a comment below, or you can shoot me an email. I put under the link of this video a link for you to have access to a free ebook on how to detox. This is one of the main thing I do with people is to actually detox the body, and you have to be smart with that. There's ways to do that, and you have to provide the right nutrition in order for you to detox. So thank you for watching.